What's good, Panther Nation? It's your boy, Myron McRae, a.k.a. Tornado McRae, across the skies of the internet, here with another episode of Panther Pride TV, your one-stop shop for all your Panther notifications and your Panther obligations. And happy Tuesday to all of you lovely guys, gals, everybody in between and whatnot. I hope y'all are having a fantastic Tuesday. Hope everything is going smooth. And I know some of you are probably asking, hey, bro, where's the intro you just had on yesterday's episode, guys? Some stuff's going on in the backlog. Like, basically, the intro makes it a little hard for the editing team on the back end, so I'm not going to make that hard on them, so you won't see the intro going forward. I apologize. I was trying something. I made it too hard on the editing team on the back end. I'm not going to do that for them anymore. So that's on me, all right? So I know intro, may see it somewhere else down the line. Who knows? It may come back on something else. But we're going to get into today's docket. Got a few things that we need to adjust and a few things we want to talk about. And the first thing that I do want to address is apparently there is a deal going on with Philly right now. So this comes out from Anthony Palacios from The Last Word on Sports. Sometimes I take what he says with a grain of salt. But Anthony suggested that Carolina could be making a trade with the Eagles to address their safety spot. And what that trade is? A trade for Reed Blankenship. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, I don't know how you don't know, but Reed Blankenship has been the starting safety out in Philly, and the man has been balling out the last 3 years he's been there. Like, looking at the numbers in his 3 seasons there, the man's played 40 games, defended 19 passes, has 8 interceptions, has only allowed a 65% completion percentage, and his passer rating that he allows is at an 86.7. The boy's been balling. Say what you want. The boy has been balling. And then in terms of his contract, he's actually on a relatively cheap contract right now. So here it is. Like, he signed a rookie contract extension back in April of last year, which put him through the 2025 season. And he's making $3.93 million a year. But he's set to become a free agent in 2026. So with all that being said, here's what Anthony Palacios had to say overall. It's like the Carolina Panthers have a promising roster, even though they're nowhere near contenders. Watch your mouth. They should have a winning record, at least after restructuring their defense this offseason. Despite signing Trayvon Moehrig, they could make another upgrade like Blankenship that would take over starting duties instead of Nick Scott. My thoughts about this. The first thing that comes to my mind is, what is it going to cost? Because let's be real, Philly's not going to give up Reed Blankenship the way he's been balling. They're not going to give him up for nothing. That's probably at least 2 mid-round picks, like a third and a fourth and a fifth, whatever the case may be, as well as a player on top of that. Like, I don't see them just giving it up for 2 picks and being cool with that. I genuinely think they would want a good amount for that. So a player and 2 picks just to get Reed Blankenship, it seems a little steep. And the reason why I think it seems a little steep is because he's set to become a free agent after this season. So we're getting him on a 1-year deal just to have to re-up and re-sign him. And that's where the real issue comes in for me, is how much will he want to sign for when his contract is up? The man has been balling well beyond his contract. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I cannot reiterate that enough. But because he's been balling, Carolina would have to pick up the tab of what it's gonna cost to keep him. And I guarantee you, the young man ain't gonna sit there and want another cheap $1 million, $2 million, $3 million deal. He's gonna want to get paid. He might not want to be the highest paid safety in the league, but he for sure isn't gonna want to be on the low end. So you got to keep that in mind when you're thinking about that. And I'd be open to it, but I'm not fully sending on that. I honestly am not. I'm more no than yes, because of, one, what you're going to have to get up to get Reed, and then what you're going to have to sign him for in the back half once the next season starts and he's an unrestricted free agent. You're going to have to re-sign him. That's going to cost more money. So essentially, you're giving up assets right now, and then you're going to have to pay more on the back end, because if he continues to ball out, let's be real, The man's worth his money. You're going to have to pay him his money. And if you don't pay him his money, he's going to walk. So unless you're just trying to get 1 year out of him for free and then let him go, it doesn't make sense in the long run, in my opinion. Next thing on the agenda, apparently, hold up. Just this, because I hate when this happens. There we go. So, apparently, Justin Simmons talks have gone a little cold, guys. I don't like that. I'm not a huge fan of that, in my opinion. But apparently, Justin Simmons talks have gone cold, and this is coming from the Athletic's Joe Pearson, who stated that, hey, the Panthers and Simmons may not be as close in terms of an agreement as one would think. So, here's what Pearson had to say on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. He took to social media to talk about this, and it was also addressed a little bit more in the article that he had on The Athletic. But he said, mentioned free agent Justin Simmons as a possibility for the Panthers. Carolina has talked to Simmons reps, but nothing is imminent as of now, per league sources. Reminder, Simmons led the league with 6 interceptions in 2022 when he was with Xavier in Denver. So, when you think about that, and not only that, he was actually a second-team All-Pro when he was with Avero in that 2022 season. So, he balled out there. And this comes on the heels of Carolina hosting visits for Julian Blackmon as well as Marcus Williams back in March. So when you take all that into account, first thing on my mind is I'm sad if the talks have stalled out. Simmons is a well-proven vet in this game. He's been a top-tier safety in the game for like the last few years, honestly speaking. And we all saw what he did with Atlanta. And we all seen what he did in Denver. So I'm sad if talks have stalled out. And when you look at it, DBs seem to do great with Avero. Ramsey, Simmons, like he's got a good track record with his defenses, with how corners play. So having somebody with the continuity that Simmons has with Avero, he knows what Avero wants to accomplish. He knows how to play the game. He knows what he's trying to do in his schemes and his concepts and what he's trying to disguise, everything in that and the third. That continuity, to me, helps a whole lot better than bringing somebody who's never worked with Avero and trying to have him fit their scheme, because that may not be naturally how they play the position or how they may naturally read defenses, read coverages, so on and so forth. So, with all that being said, I would like it if they continue trade talks. However, if they're really thinking about Julian Blackmon and Marcus Williams, I guess that's who they're going to go with. But to me, it makes sense to at least re-engage or reiterate the signing talks with Justin Simmons. Now, that's not to say because they're not imminent as of now that something won't be written in stone by the middle of the summer, by the rest of the summer, because we all know Justin Simmons is going to be on some team somewhere. He's going to be on some team somewhere. So we're going to have to look out for that, man. And then third topic we want to address today is apparently Xavier Legette could be labeled a bust after if he has a bad 2025 season. So this article came from Matt Holder at Bleacher Report, and he listed 6 players who needed to have a breakout or a bounce back in 2025 to avoid being labeled a bust. And we all know how that term goes around. Xavier Legette was the 6th and final player he termed and said they need to have a bounce back. And here's what he had to say about Legette. It's a lot, so be ready. Unlike a lot of previously mentioned players, Xavier Legette had a decent rookie season and was consistent starter a year ago. The 2024 number 32 overall pick made 13 starts and led the Carolina Panthers with 49 receptions while finishing second in receiving yards at 497 and touchdowns at 4. However, he was plagued by 8 drops per Football Focus, and the wideout admitted that's the biggest area of improvement moving forward. Not gonna lie, to me, that biggest drop, bro. Like we gonna talk about it. We gonna talk about it. Let's keep moving. So he follows that up to say, Follows that up to say, that's part of the reason Carolina was still searching for a wide receiver help during the draft, adding another first rounder at the position in Teteroa McMillan last April. Additionally, Adam Thielen, the team's number one receiver over the last 2 years, and Jalen Coker returned from last season. McMillan and Thielen are expected to hold down two of the Panthers starting spots out wide, leaving Legette to battle it out with fellow second-year Coker. And he wraps it up by saying, while the former outproduced the latter last season, Coker put up similar numbers as Legette on a much smaller sample size. The undrafted free agent hauled 32 catches for 478 yards and 2 touchdowns in just 11 games and 4 starts. So, the South Carolina product might begin training camp as a starting wide receiver with the Panthers, but better be careful this summer as he may lose his spot. I agree somewhat. I have to be honest and say I agree somewhat as much as I don't. Now, Xavier Legette, to me, he started last year exactly how I hoped for, but his finish last year was rough, especially when in terms of drops. The one that hurts me the most, the toughest moments to me in terms of his drops was that drop against the Eagles at the end of the game in crunch time. Like, that drop was rough to see because that should have been a for sure touchdown. We go up, we beat the Eagles. That's a lot more momentum and just continues to build because, not going to lie, that drive was beautifully executed by Bryce and the offense. So that drop still hurts me. And that was when I was like, yeah, you ain't where you were when you started the season, Legette. But I'm going to say this, and y'all may disagree with me on this. I'm not going to label him a bust until at your earliest after year 3. If Xavier Legette has this same production after year 3, then yes, the man is a bust. But I've told y'all, I am not quick to be like, oh, that player is automatically a bust because they haven't already been a 1,000-yard receiver. Or they haven't already hit their stride coming out the gate as a first-round pick. I sometimes the transition from college to pro takes a little minute, and sometimes you just have to be a little patient. I know it sucks. We want the instant production. I get it. But sometimes you just have to be a little patient. But like I said, if he's having the same production after 3 years or after the 3rd year, I will get on this channel and y'all can sit there and hold me accountable. I will say Xavier Legette is a bust. That is me. So that's where I feel on that, and that's where I stand. And those are my 2 cents, guys. But I know y'all have a lot to say about it. And we're going to add a new segment today going forward. And this is why I need y'all to drop stuff in the comment section because you're going to get your time to shine, man. But Panther Nation, time for y'all to speak your truth. And we got a few things here. I'm actually excited. I'm actually excited to see what y'all got here. So this is from some of the comment section over the last 2-3 videos. I pulled some of the comments. First one that came up comes from Leo King 3234. And this is about the Shamar Stewart signing that we were discussing in yesterday's video. He says, I got to disagree. Giving all that to an unproven player is crazy work. Also, he had the least production in college among players at his position. Best I'll do is picks in round 4 and 5 and 1 player. Panthers do not need to give away any high picks anymore, as well as we need all the talent we can get. Panthers do not need to trade any more high picks, as we need real talent, not just people to fill roster spots. I mean, fair take, solid take. I will say, so from what I just gathered, you're okay with a player and 2 picks as long as the 2 picks are 4th and 5th, not a 2nd and a 4th. If that's my understanding, cool. I get it. It's still the same trade. It's just you want later picks. And I'll also add the caveat is that just because you're a high pick doesn't necessarily mean you're great. Hence, like we just talked about, Xavier Legette may be labeled a bust and he was around 1. Coker was undrafted. He's a great talent. Chuba Hubbard, 4th round talent. And he's been great and phenomenal. So to me, I've always been the guy that your spot in the draft doesn't necessarily automatically determine how great you are, but it is a slight indicator. We all know that. But that's a great take. I'm not against the idea. You definitely don't want to give up a whole lot just to get somebody, and we know how giving up a lot of assets can, in turn, sometimes bite us in the butt for a little while. So I understand where it's coming from. Next comment comes from Ben Tate 6288. So Ben said this in regards to Morig, Hunt, and JC's contracts being labeled the worst contracts in the league. In that video too, like not the last video, but the video before that. And he's like, as a statistician, you can make stats say whatever you want. Whatever you want. They wanted to talk about Morig's pass coverage when he was a part of a bad team. What about what he's actually good at, which is playing in the box? How do those stats look? He's 26, still plenty of time to develop the pass coverage portion of the game, which most safeties don't come to develop until later in their career anyways. Great signing by the Panthers. Robert Hunt, you could be argued somewhat, but at the same time, linemen tend to play till they're older at a high level than other positions, so that could potentially be 5 of his best years on this contract. JC Horn, watch the film, plain and simple. Honestly, hey, Ben hit it out the park there. Ben hit it out the park there. One, with the stats, he's right. You can make stats whatever. You can make stats fit whatever narrative you want. You really can. I could do it right here on this channel. I could bend stats, and sometimes I know some of y'all probably look at the stats I put up, and y'all think I'm bending it to the narrative I'm speaking to, and you're more than inclined to feel that way. I see it. And I do like the fact that he brought up, hey, Morig, you're talking about Morig. He was on a bad team, but what about what he does well, which is playing in the box? That is true. Hunt, great take on the lineman, and then JC, we all know when he is on the field, JC is one of them ones. So Ben, hey, I give you an applause on that one. Like, that's a great take in my mind. And then lastly, this last one comes from Mofo Fish _ who says these Panthers are gonna be fun to watch, man. I'm telling you now. Games are usually decided by 1 to 10 plays. I think we have the roster to sway those odds in our favor. Watch how we finally slide into the playoffs this season. Hey, listen. I know y'all tired of the applause, but I'm with him. I agree. I think we will make the playoffs this year. We're going to slide in that wild card spot. At best, winning the division. I do think that is a possibility, and I'm with that. But, guys, let me know your thoughts below. How do you feel about the Philly deal for Blankenship? Would you agree with that trade, or what would you trade for Reed Blankenship if you think it's worth it? 2, are you upset about the Justin Simmons talk seeming to have stalled out? And 3, would you consider Xavier Legette a draft bust if 2025 is not great? If yes, tell me. If yes, cool. Tell me what numbers he has to put up to be considered a bust. Or no, tell me when you would consider him a bust, and everything in between. And leave all your comments because, yes, I will be reading them every episode from here on going forward so y'all can feel included. I'll pick some at random and just let it go. But that's all I have to say, guys. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell at the bottom. Leave your comments below. And as always, let me know because at the end of the day, what do I know? I'm just a skinny brother with 2 tats. Peace. Much love to all you Panther Nation. Take care. Later days. And as always, keep pounding. I'll see you next time.